It's early in the morning. I thought I would try something different. Instead of doing a lot of editing and spending all that time making videos, I would just do a quick off-the-cuff video to share some stuff about Rider that came up the other day that I thought was really interesting. So I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. We do a call every once in a while. And we got on the subject of JetBrains IDEs. He's using Goland, I think it's called. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, he's using this for Go. And I'm using Rider for JavaScript and .NET stuff. And we just got talking about it and started sharing some tips that we use in Rider and in Go that are really cool. And he shared a couple things I didn't know, and I shared a couple things he didn't know. And I thought, hey, maybe if I could make a quick video about this, it would be useful to somebody else. So let's dig into this, and I'll show you what we came up with. So the first thing that he showed me was something called Open in GitHub. This is really neat. So if you are working in an application, and actually this is an edited file, so I have to do it in a non-edited file because it does it by line number, and if you're editing a file and you go view it on GitHub, it's going to show you something different. But anyway, so if you highlight some code and you do Control-T in Rider and you do Open GitHub, open on GitHub, it's going to create a link for you and take you to GitHub. Interesting. Why? If a file hasn't actually been pushed to GitHub, this is not going to work. Boop. Push. So now everything should actually be in GitHub. Let's try this again. Control-T. Open on GitHub. Hey, look. Success. Okay. So, back to what we were talking about. If you do open on GitHub, it gives you this URL that you can use to share with somebody else as long as they have access to the repository. You can also put this link, James tells me, my friend that was telling me about this, says you can put this link in Markdown or in GitHub issues, and it will show a snippet of the code for you in your Markdown or your issue. So it's a really easy way to like share code, and it's tied to this specific revision of the code. So obviously if things change later in your branches or a different code, it's not going to be right, but it'll be a nice point in time. Here's what the code was, here's the lines, here's the file, so you can share it or write about it or whatever. So really cool, right? I didn't know about that. That was one I'm definitely going to use, I think, in my Markdown documentation when I need to talk about a certain part of the code. So that's really cool. Okay, so the next thing we were talking about was GitHub Copilot. So I started using Copilot in Rider. It works really good. Actually kind of impressed with it. I've been enjoying it so far, but one thing that I did not enjoy was when it does suggestions. I don't know if I can get a decent suggestion out of it here somewhere. Probably anywhere I hit enter, I'll get a suggestion. Let's do location. So see how it has a suggestion here for set location async? Well, originally when I put in the plugin, if I hit tab, it would take that suggestion, but I'm used to tab selecting the first item in this list, right? So it was really kind of an annoying learning curve trying to do that. So I remapped the key, and when I did it, my friend showed me a lot easier way to do it. So basically I remapped this. So if I hit Shift tab, it accepts that. If I hit regular old tab, it grabs the first item on the list like I'm used to. So I was like, that's so much better. And the way that I did that was I went into settings, and you can go to Keymap, and here's this huge list of Keymap stuff. But what he showed me, which is obvious but just something I never really thought about, was I can do Copilot in here, and then I get everything, all the Keymaps just set up for Copilot, so I can quickly find it. And this is the one, right? Apply completions in code editor. And then I changed it to Shift tab instead of tab, and now Copilot's way more useful because I can ignore the suggestions because they don't always work, they don't always make sense. Usually they get you partway there. For repetitive things, it's pretty darn useful, but otherwise I'd rather use the IntelliSense So now I can easily use my normal muscle memory for tab for most things, but I use shift tab if I want to accept the GitHub Copilot stuff. Another thing that I did that I liked is I changed this color. So the color originally was not this red. I don't remember what it was, but it was a little bit harder to see or differentiate from normal other things. So I changed it to red, and I like that. So the next thing was a couple things that I showed James in this call, which were some of my favorite things. So if you hit Control-Shift-E on Windows anyway, you get this recent locations. It's also under a menu. You can find it, or do Control-T and do recent locations. It shows you a snippet of everywhere you've been in the code recently, right? So while I was hopping around earlier in the video, these are all the things. So sometimes when you're working in a big code base or a confusing code base or a code base you're not familiar with, you get moving around and then you forget, like, oh, there's this piece of code that I wanted to look at again, but I don't remember where it was. This gives you just this little piece. It's really easy to say, oh, that's the place, I wanted to work in. So love that part. So it's recent locations. And then the other thing along the same lines is called local history. So local history shows you all the changes that you've done locally and not necessarily committed or put in GitHub. So I don't know if you've ever had this position or not, where you've made a whole bunch of changes, you had something working, you kept working, you messed something up and you're not sure what happened, and you didn't commit, you didn't do atomic commits, or you're busy. So you're like, oh, I don't remember how I had that working or what I was doing. Local history, you can go back and see your changes at points in time while you're just working on the code, and it's just super handy. So you can even see the reformat code. So this will pretty or reformat your JavaScript code, and I can even see what it did over the course of working on this file. So yeah, so that's it. So those are just a few quick tips in Rider. Continues to be a really great tool. I've converted a lot of people to using Rider, and I hope that you give it a chance as well. And I guess that's it. So thanks very much.